Rafa?
Hey, yo, yeah, I'm here.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, hold up. How come my let me see what's up with my sound here. Let me get my settings. Audio. All right, where you at?
All right, there it is. We are live. That's the man right there with the mustache. I'm Brian Campbell. That's Rafe Bartholomew. You may know us from Inside the Box. How about this for a BCX live reaction instant analysis? Artur Beterbiev, majority decision, or was it over Dmitry Bivol after 12 tactical and occasionally high pressure rounds? Riyadh Citizen, Saudi Arabia. Rafe, you're going to get the first word because I got to believe this was a contentious, disputed. I wouldn't go as far as controversial, maybe, but contentious and disputed. Rafe, how did you see this four-belt summit?
Man, well, Brian, I really just want to see. I want to hear about the BC scorecard because the BC scorecard experience is such an important part of my boxing fan life. However, I will tell you, I was surprised to hear that 8-4 scorecard for Beterbiev because it just seemed like if either fighter, look, all right, I was scoring, I had it 6-5 Beterbiev going into the 12th. And I don't know how to score that round. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still that round is still marinating in my brain. It was like a lot of the rounds in that fight where Bivol, it looks like the last minute of the round is a rough for Dmitry Bivol. He's getting, hit almost pillar to post, covering up a lot, and looking like he's hurt and in danger of going down. However, the first minute and a half of that, he lit up Artur Beterbiev, and you could definitely make a big case that he won that 12th round. And on my score, that would have made it a draw. It's close to a draw. It was the kind of fight where, like, look, you could make a very, very strong case that as a boxing match, like who landed the more clean shots, I think you could say that was Dmitry Bivol. However, in a fight, I think Artur Beterbiev won that fight. Now, this is the sport of boxing. This ain't just street fighting, right? So a draw would have been. I feel, man. I guess it's a draw, man. Well, I don't know.
Let's
You
talk math.
tell me what happened on your crazy ass scorecard, Brian.
Let's talk math. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk accidentally screwing up my beard and leading to shaving off everything. So, yeah, there we go.
You gotta leave this one. You gotta leave that, for the ride.
There you go. Free rides coming up. Here's the deal. Did the fight live up to expectations? No. Not an awful fight. In fact, in some ways, a very fun, technical fight. But I really don't like the decisions, okay? Here's the scorecards, 114, 114. Then you get my boy Glenn Feldman from Avon, Connecticut, 115, 113 in favor of Beterbiev.
I call him the Avon lady.
Yeah, then 116, 112. So many close rounds. Cannot dispute that. I had it like you did. We're going into the final round. Beterbiev was going to need to take that round to force a draw. I gave that round to Bivol. Maybe I'm going to have to rewatch and be wrong there. But ultimately, it's one of those things where, can I agree it was a close fight? And did my scorecard tell you in some ways it could have gone either way at the end, considering had I given that last round to Beterbiev, it would have been a draw on my card? Yes. But this is one of those fights where the eyes tell you something different, even though the eyes don't score rounds, right? Eyes don't score fights. You score fights round by round.
I'm like Danielson when I score fights. I'm just like blind, doing it with the blindfold on, everything. Yep.
So ultimately, look, I just feel like Bivol gets a raw deal on these cards. It's a very close raw deal. But this leaves a cliffhanger. How unsatisfying. This leaves unfinished business. Did Beterbiev deserve that win? In my opinion, no. It's one of those things, Rafe, where who did the better work throughout? Bivol. But who put on the better pressure in the second half? No question, Beterbiev. In fact, I gave him 4 of the last 5 rounds on my scorecard. But at some level, are the judges just rewarding that aggression when at times it was largely ineffective? Not all the time. There's certainly good stretches in those later rounds where Beterbiev spins Bivol to the ropes late in that round, putting on the pressure. At times, it almost looked like he hurt him. Other times, though, it's the defense, footwork, and really just the poise of Bivol, who is able to stand in front of arguably the most menacing puncher in the sport and hit and not get hit for the most part. That's the fight I saw. But look, this isn't Pride rules and MMA in Japan where you score the fight on who you thought did better. It is round by round. And if round by round I had it 7-5 Bivol, which I did, could I be that upset of 114? No. Could I be that upset of 7-5 Beterbiev? No. I don't love 8-4. I will tell you, I wrote close at the end of about 5 or 6 rounds in this fight. There's no question about that. But you got to feel for Dmitry Bivol right here. I don't think this is a great look for boxing that he loses essentially on all 3 scorecards, right? Gets one draw and gets down on the other 2. I thought Bivol did the better work, and maybe I'm going too political. But then we got Ramzan Kadyrov with his arm around Beterbiev afterwards, and everyone on Twitter is like, man, they mailed in that scorecard. Look, I don't think the fix was in per se. I just feel like Bivol not even getting a scorecard in his direction, doing the better work throughout, watching Kadyrov celebrate, having Beterbiev tell on the microphone, I didn't really fight that good. You know who won this fight? Bivol. And he did it by being insanely perfect defensively for the most part. You're shaking your mustache at me. What do you have?
Brian, I don't know. I didn't look. Well, you're saying you're kind of out of pocket here in a lot of ways.
Speak it. Yeah, I don't have a mustache. I don't have a beard anymore. I'm like loose in the woods.
This was a disappointing fight. It was not at all. Like, why? Because there weren't knockdowns. I mean, this is, if anything, for me, it was. Look, it was one of these fights that like I was having to catch my breath just watching it. I was sitting there in the surrender cobra, just like, what is going to happen? And it was that tense, that close, that and had momentum swings. It had adjustments. It had moments, especially where Bivol. This is where I thought Bivol really shined. Was rounds the beginning of the second half of the fight, 7, 8, 9, where it looked like the fight was starting to turn right into what Beterbiev wanted, and Bivol came out kind of bit down and was like, "Fuck no." And start and let his hands go, sat down on punches, and that is what slowed Artur Beterbiev down in 3 rounds that I gave a sweep 7, 8, 9 to Bivol, even though I did mark 8 as like, man, I really don't know, but and that included 1 or 2 of those rounds where he did have to ride out the last 30 seconds to a minute, kind of Bivol, protecting himself and not going down because he almost looked like he had shot his load in some of those early portions of the round.
And then load watch.
Yeah, and then
yes.
And then had to spend a little bit of time protecting himself and trying not to get too hurt when Beterbiev stepped on the gas coming back in the back halves of those rounds. Anyway, but that part of the fight is when Bivol, I think, came back into it and built a small lead on my scorecard. And then Beterbiev came back and responded huge in the 10th and 11th. And then we have this 12th round, which was almost a toss-up. To me, that is a great fight. And I guess I do understand. And Artur Beterbiev, at the end of the fight, after the fight, saying, "Oh man, I don't know." He was like, "I don't know. Maybe I want to hit him more. I want to punch more. I want to win fight." And also shout out to Chris Mannix. This was one of them. Had to be one of the most challenging mega fight post interviews he's ever done with both guys. Where
how busy?
Like, well, no,
Artur.
I'm not very happy. I did not really like my win, but I have belts. And
what adjustments did you make? Adjustment?
How did you change? Change. Well, I changed my punches.
I changed my robe off when the fights start. Okay, you're calling me out of pocket, but would you say that I'm right?
It's not a bad look for boxing. It's a good ass fight.
Let me clean that up. I'm emotional here. I have no mustache or beard. Let me clean that up, okay? I don't mean it's bad for boxing, but I don't feel like the right guy got the right deal. Not a robbery, contentious, disputed, yes, not a robbery. But it comes down to me, and I know I threw in that Kadyrov comment and it added to the whatever. But it comes down to me that Bivol's defense, even in the midst of a lot of those Beterbiev rallies in the second half of rounds, in the second half of the fight, was so damn on point that I think his defense and footwork won that fight.
There's a really good argument for that. I think the counter to that, Brian, is that there at the end of maybe 5 or 6 rounds in this fight, Bivol looked like he might not make it to the bell. Like he was in some serious trouble. And props to him for surviving, not going down, not like doing all the things that he needed to make sure that he didn't take a 10-8 round or any things that, you know, that he gave himself the best chance to win that fight in an argument. And, you know, in some people, you know, some strangers online are going to say that he did win this fight. It was, look, to me, it was, I'm torn between a draw and shading it to Beterbiev because I went in with we had flipped scorecards going into the 12th. I had Beterbiev 6-5. You had Bivol 6-5.
Sure.
And I still don't feel confident about what I think should, like, who won that. I would have 10-10 that round, and Beterbiev wins on my scorecard.
So
in any case, this is not a bad look for boxing.
I got to interrupt you and say all three judges gave Beterbiev the final round. So that played a lot into that card. I don't mean bad look for boxing. I don't mean the fight sucked. I just mean I expected, even with the good pressure at times in the second half, I expected more toe-to-toe fighting. I expected Beterbiev to force Bivol to have to fight more. If I'm going to say anything negative about Beterbiev's game, I could say he started late, but he tends to always do that. And Bivol was so sharp early that I'm not going to say he started late. I'm going to say he didn't go to the body nearly enough to try to slow down and limit the movement. Yes, he was effective at cornering Bivol in a lot of these late rounds in terms of pushing him against the ropes. But dude, Bivol's defense and willingness and balls was so on point that I got to give the man that respect in the end.
I give him shitloads of respect. He's the first opponent in history to make the final, you know, the final bell against Artur Beterbiev, and he has a good case to have won that fight, or it having been a draw, or, you know, I mean, look, it could have gone either way. And so yeah, and again, to me, really the way that Bivol fought in the beginning of the second half of that fight, round 7, 8, and 9, where he started like jumping into that like really nasty lead left hook and landing it clean a couple times, shaking Beterbiev up. And of course, you know, those 1-2s that you know he could land. He was landing very cleanly and look, they looked pretty. I mean, he made it look pretty at times, but then, you know, at the last minute of most of those rounds, he's going like, you know, backpedaling, you know, pillar to post. So it was, oh man, it was that kind of fight. And again, I just like, why not? Like they both said yes immediately. Let's do a rematch. Let's because Beterbiev, he did genuinely sound a little disappointed in himself. He thought that he could have gotten off a little bit better. Whether that means going to the body, I don't know. How are you supposed to attack Bivol's body when he's faster than you, when he's better? Right. You know, where were the openings for him for Beterbiev to get there? And look, the handful of times he did hit that body, it was loud, man. It like it was gross sounding. There were those shots that had me doubling over in imaginary pain through my laptop, man.
Yeah, Bivol's hand speed played a big part, I thought, in rounds 4 and 5 in particular, countering Beterbiev's jab and in some ways, like you said, taking away the opportunity for those potential body shots. Man, I don't think Beterbiev looked surprised when he won. I thought he was walking around the ring before the decision in a very demonstrative tone. Very good technical fight, demands a rematch, leaves us with some unfinished business. But back to the point look, fans are taking shots at us, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. They're saying I sound like a casual. They're saying you sound like you look like the supersize me guy. I mean, you're going to take that? I mean, that guy's not even alive. Right? Yeah, he did, bro. I mean, you're going to take that?
I wish I could blame this on McDonald's, man. This is just age. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you look fine, but are you gonna, I don't know, the whole bad for boxing idea. I overblew that.
You hear
but
that
I
a lot,
don't think this fight gave us, at the very least, it didn't give us the closure we were looking for to find out who's the best light heavyweight in the world, the clear one face, one name, one champion, undisputed. Do you believe that we're going to go in the direction of an immediate rematch, or, you know, Turkey loves people like Jai Opataya at cruiserweight?
Jeez. The way it sounded immediately coming out of the fight, and I guess we're going to have to watch over the next couple of days to sort of read the tea leaves and see what the boxing business really wants to do next. But coming immediately out of that fight, it sounded like go straight and roll straight into the rematch, just like, Usyk Fury 2. Give it 6 months, do it sometime in the first quarter of 2025 or whatever, all that. Whenever Riyadh season kicks up again, shoot, do it again. And like it does. We are getting David Morrell and David Benavidez next, right, on the PBC side at 175.
Yes.
So they don't have any other business to do. Canelo's not said flat out, if Bivol loses, we ain't fighting. So it seems like that we're clear, all systems go to make a rematch of a fight that is going, that was really hard to call and deserves a rematch, because both fighters probably think that they would have it or have a chance to make a stronger case for themselves and clearly set himself up as undisputed in the next one.
Well, I certainly can't wait to rewatch it, rescore it, and come back on Inside the Box with you this week and give a more nuanced account without, the emotions and the live tweeting and scoring that we're doing there. But here's a look at the CompuBox numbers that do tell the tale that it was a very, very competitive fight.
They were showing that during the fight. They look like bullshit. I'm a Paulie Malignaggi CompuBox apostate. All right.
Well, okay, that notwithstanding here, Bivol does get the edge on overall punches landed, 142 to 137. So a very close edge. Bivol won the jab battle 58 to 47. Beterbiev wins the power punch overall battle 90 to 84. But if you look at the percentages of power punches landed, which sometimes can dictate who the winner was, Beterbiev landed 29.4% of his power punches. Bivol landed 50%. And I mean, that's incredible. That shows to how much he does work behind that jab. But speaking of that, we're used to, as surprised as I was for the first, let's say 7 rounds, at almost the ease that Bivol did have in landing some pretty big and clean shots against Beterbiev, including that 1-2 punch combo in the midpoint of the fight that seemed to actually rock and hurt Beterbiev. Now, to Beterbiev's credit, he comes back at the end of that round and just puts on crazy pressure and pins him against the ropes. But I was a little surprised early on at the almost ease that Bivol had in lighting him up with big shots.
I don't know if I saw this fight as Beterbiev starting. I thought he started to turn up the heat on Bivol earlier than I think a lot of people did in this fight. I saw the pressure starting to have some dividends, honestly, in as early as the 3rd round, which I think Bivol probably still won, but it was still like that was the point in the fight where I was like, yo, Beterbiev is starting to get in that ass. And then it was like that through 6 for me, like where Beterbiev, he would take a couple of very clean combinations coming in because Bivol is faster and crisper and was able to sort of loop that right hand in at will at times in this fight, and they landed beautifully. Between every round, when there's only 30 seconds to go pull a highlight, every time the zone is pulling whatever they can from Bivol because they just know it's going to be there. That work was easy to see, but then I mean, you saw. I mean, that was part of Bivol's interview with Chris Mannix. He's like, oh yeah, you see I have a bruise in my eye because not because he's getting hit by Beterbiev punches that landed, but just because the punches that he's blocking with his high guard just knocked his own glove, his wrist into his eye and gave him a mouse down there. How now you can't judge that as part of clean punching because it clearly is not, but it is some form of effective aggression if it's leading to Bivol looking at points in the fight like he was in deep trouble and not going to make it through a round.
Sure. No, you're right. And that speaks, though, to the constant pressure. So I guess that speaks to the central tension that I have in the argument of the scoring. Beterbiev's pressure in the second half brought him back into the fight. I spoke maybe a little out of pocket emotionally at the beginning and saying, okay, but was that aggression effective? To the judges, it was. Maybe I need to look at it as how you said, that even if Beterbiev isn't hitting clean, those short hammering shots while Bivol is covering up in the ropes in the final minute of some of those big rounds to close, at least visually, it looks great. But I wonder, he's hurting him too when you consider Bivol rarely not in the center of the ring, but when he's trapped against the ropes, that's where Beterbiev can really pin him there and land. Maybe that's doing more damage than I gave him credit for in that regard.
Possibly, Brian. So here's one thing I feel like I'm crazy. I might be crazy myself here because I didn't see this exactly as a fight of two halves where Beterbiev really turned it on in rounds, say 7 through 12. I
And that
thought that he
speaks to
kind
the
of got
closeness.
dominated in 7 through. I thought that 7 through 9 were honestly some of Bivol's most effective rounds, where he came back after Beterbiev started turning the tide on him, and really that's when he landed the combinations that shook Beterbiev.
Round
Yes, in
7,
rounds
yeah.
1 and 2, that was when Bivol, we knew we kind of all, or many if not most of us, expected Bivol to look good in the first couple of rounds, and he looked great in those rounds. But they were not the hottest rounds of the fight. Also, okay, Mr. Out of Pocket, how are we going back and forth talking about what we just saw, trying to process it, having seen just like this much debate of what did we actually just see, who deserved to win it? How is that not a good fight? How is that not a good thing for boxing? How are you disappointed? Why do you feel a burning sensation in your hole right now?
Probably Ramzan Kadyrov and hanging around Luke Thomas too much, and then being like, yeah, the guy I didn't think won, suddenly everybody's laughing to jump around. You're right. I'm coming back down to earth. I love high technical fights between great fighters. That's exactly what this was. The defense from both of these guys was absolutely excellent. It speaks to the fight I tried to say I wanted. Maybe that can't happen with two guys this great. Everything we said about these two guys and the importance of this fight and why this fight was so good, probably right on in that regard, because the craft was so high. I guess it just left me feeling like maybe because Beterbiev started a little bit late and had some great, good success late, but maybe not great, was really unable to hurt Bivol, was unable to visibly, stagger him or drop him, that I sort of felt like to some degree I didn't get the closure I want. So, hey, let's get it back with an immediate rematch with these two.
Yeah, I hear you. Did you feel, Brian, like I guess do you prefer a Crawford Spence type fight in these best versus best matchups where this guy put it on and we know who like that. I mean, there aren't many fights between two top 10, top 5 pound for pound level fighters that end up like Spence Crawford did. And props to Bud for just whipping that ass. Yeah, more often we get these close fights where it's a little controversial. At least we're not talking about like a De La Hoya Trinidad fight here. Like these guys came and I don't think either guy left anything on the table. Nobody, faded down the stretch. Nobody, I mean, they rose to the moment and made each other kind of look bad in ways that neither ever has looked bad. It's great if we get to see one fighter rise even above that, but it didn't quite get to that level in this fight. I sure would like to see it again and see if one of them does do that.
Would you agree with there was a lot of controversy surrounding this card. Really, I'm a media member trying to tell fans when and where to find these fights. And I didn't even realize that. I knew ESPN was doing the one-off main event only card. I didn't even realize they had exclusive access to that and you couldn't get it on DAZN. And then DAZN does that big switcheroo where they announced publicly that the pay-per-view undercard would be non-pay-per-view and would be free. Only it became a pay-per-view at the last minute, albeit a $19.99 price tag, but you do get a Busta Rhymes concert in there, which New York Rafe was fired
the song. Do you know what song I'm talking? Did he do that song
I didn't
in
see
Saudi
the
Arabia?
performance. To be fair,
I had it muted during that after the Fabio Wardley thing. I was like, all right, man, I got him to take a break.
The pacing terrible.
Did he
on
play
DAZN.
A-Rap Bunny? Because that would be incredible.
I'm sure he played the hits.
That's not a hit, but that's like a kind of, I don't know if it's relevant. It's it would take some anyway. I gotta go back and review that tape.
Indeed. I'm really using that to say ultimately that I think DAZN did another one of the bits they do in the Turkey era where the pacing was just weird and awful. And suddenly you've got 2 hours to fill, but then ESPN changes the start time from 6 to 5:30. And then people are scrambling, trying to get to the network. Then you get to ESPN and then they're doing a long preview of the fight that DAZN just spent the last 3 hours doing a long preview on. And then we got a guy who I love, Hall of Famer Tim Bradley, who I think, even with him using his personality more as a broadcaster and that turning people off, I think he tells the truth. I think he's great. I thought he was off here on, especially in the first half of the fight, on basically missing almost all of the success that Bivol was having and constantly talking up Beterbiev. Would you agree with that? And some people are like, well, wouldn't you expect that? It's a top-ranked show. Beterbiev's top rank. I don't think it's any of that. Do you think he was sort of misevaluating at times in this fight some of the success that Bivol was really having?
That's interesting because I was watching the DAZN call, so I had dazzling Darren Barker, Chris Mannix.
Oh, so they did
Grisham.
do it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you're saying they did? So I'm so confused at how this day actually went. To be fair,
all I can say is I watched it via a stream that worked from start to finish, and I enjoyed I got a great value for my money, and I feel great about my
$3.99, right?
No. I'm talking about anyway. I got the DAZN version of the fight, and but the interesting about their call is I thought they were leaning really heavy into Bivol's work. So we might have to go and watch the opposite broadcast and see if either of us was brainwashed here. Although since I didn't go for the narrative that the Matchroom DAZN shills were pushing on me, I clearly got the score right. Somebody got to get the score right. Thank you.
You got the score right. You scored it for Beterbiev, right? You got the score right.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Somebody got to do it.
Thank you, Paulie. Thank you. Wow. I guess my expectations were through the roof, and I guess it not meeting that is what led to that. But so much skill from both. It does produce a rematch that we need to see. I got to watch it another time, Rafe. I do, because I really feel bad for Bivol in this case. Again, not robbery bad. Maybe raw deal bad. Is there a difference? Is when you get your steak, medium well in 3/4, is that obviously not a robbery, but
an effective robbery?
Ooh, old school sound drop. I would say he got a raw deal. That's what I would say. All right, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he could have got the raw dog. I don't know. But Brian, look, if you saw it's not crazy. It's not crazy for you, anyone watching this right now, anyone we're going to encounter online ever. It's not crazy for anyone who watched this fight to have scored it for Dmitry Bivol. It was that close. The 3 rounds that I marked really close and wasn't sure what to do with. It was all because Bivol landed better looking shots and he started really fast. And then those rounds ended with Beterbiev kind of turning up the heat and looking like he had Bivol in more trouble. So if and that's a completely subjective call that every viewer is going to make differently. So, and if you happen to be on the side that saw the fight, nah, man, Bivol outboxed him enough. He didn't go down. He did everything he was supposed to do to win that fight. And he went through fire to do it. You could that's a fair argument. And yeah, you might walk out of tonight thinking that he got a raw deal, but at the same time, it was so close. And the sort of the brutal truth remains that Beterbiev was in that ass for many minutes in many of those rounds.
Or was he ineffectively in that ass?
No. I mean, he may not have been hitting the bullseye in that ass, but he left some fucking bruises on them cheeks, man.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of arguing between circling the rim and right. No,
you had to ruin it.
No, I'd like to back it up. Yeah. We're gonna have a lot to talk about this week involving the future of this division, pound for pound placement. But do you think in the end that both men ultimately showed out, considering how difficult the task was of the other man across from him? This was 2 A+, not A sides, A+ sides coming together.
Yes, I do. And to me, the revealing part of those post-fight interviews was that they both walked out of the ring. Oh man, you did this to me. Boy. They both walked out of the ring thinking, or at least saying, that they thought they could have done better. And why was that? It wasn't because, I don't think it was because either of them had an off night. I think it was because they were up against the best opponent they'd ever faced in their pro careers. and they fought to nearly a draw. I mean, possibly a draw. It happened to go to Beterbiev on the scorecards. Maybe that had to do with them fighting in Saudi Arabia, and Beterbiev is a Muslim fighter. I think that's a little conspiratorial.
Hey, I already hit you with the Kadyrov, bro. Okay,
I do not know the geopolitics well enough to really know if the warlord of Chechnya is fixing that fight in Saudi Arabia. I just don't know. He wants to come support his boy.
Who doesn't? What did you think about the Turkey experience here?
It was all right. I don't know. I wasn't paying that close attention to him. What was he giving the throat slashes for?
So he tends, shout out to Stefan, by the way. Appreciate the love there, even if it's in loonies, by the way. I noticed, if you remember, he gave the throat slash when AJ got knocked out by Dubois. I think he does that when he's trying to tell the camera to get away. He seems to be very aware, because there was that one part toward the tense 3/4 mark of the fight. They put the camera on him and he looked like he was, I don't know if he had smelling salts or he was picking his teeth, and then he noticed that the camera's on. He threw something down real quick and then had like a fake conversation.
And was he drinking the Panama Lewis water back there?
I don't know, but it's possible that whoever was working the switchboard, the director, won't be working anymore, or
won't be breathing after this weekend. Brian, the person who the antics that popped out to me, probably not surprisingly, was Conor Benn, man. Just a rough night for him all around. I mean, there was my favorite was when they cut to Turkey and Neymar's lovely date at ringside, and Conor Benn was just there, like trying to look cool, and he's like, head nodding to the music and just trying to look like such a badass. I'm like, dude, just stop. Like, you're not even supposed to be in this shot. And there, that face-off that Chris Eubank Jr. and him had in the ring after Eubank's win over Kamil Smegma Manzarameta, that talk about a shitty fight. That and a shitty WWE moment, and just like they both, neither of them sounded like they had really worked on their lines in the mirror. They weren't very convincing.
Yeah. Did you see the heavyweight rematch there though between Fabio Wardley and and what was the other guy's? I mean, that first fight was
Frazier Clark. Jason Frazier, remember him? He got knocked out by
Brendan
Frazier.
Frazier.
Yes, it's got to be your bull.
From the Mummy. Yeah. That was a first round.
He's the heavyweight these days for sure.
Wardley looked great for being the more raw fighter. He walked right through him in that rematch. Look, it was UK centric, and people were ripping on us post Inside the Box for not giving it more love. But this card,
no, I'm sorry, blokes, not this one. Y'all got a lot of great heavyweights. We could talk Bacoli and Dubois and Fury and AJ all day. We can even go back and talk some Dillian White, but not these guys.
No. Yeah, Chris Eubank got a finish too, but nobody really cares. It was about these light heavyweights on this night. Man, I think I need a cigarette after this fight. It was tense. I'll give it that. It was tense the whole time. But I guess maybe I was waiting for something to happen. And by something, I was waiting for Beterbiev to break through. And because he didn't, it really helped to fuel the idea that Bivol did something, like, let's be very honest, that no one's been able to do. I mean, Mannix literally had to ask Artur afterwards, how did it feel to go the distance? You've never been here before. Wild through 20 fights. Do you think, though, the majority of people from any kind of online reaction you saw, did they lean one way or the other? Because you're a Beterbiev guy. I'm a Bivol guy, post fight. How did you see the reaction across the board?
Look, Brian, I got to tell you, I don't pay that close attention to Twitter anymore during fights, especially because I'm watching on my computer and I can only get, I like to watch it full screen. So I'm not reading the tweets as they come through. I wouldn't be surprised if social media, if the, boxing fans across the world, lean a little toward Bivol on this fight. Just because he did cleaner work. It was easy to see when he was landing those, really eye-catching shots, many of which not only were eye-catching, but actually were effective. Like they did push Beterbiev back, but they did look like he shook Beterbiev up a couple times, which is not like we've never seen that happen before with Beterbiev.
Sure.
But it was clear that he was effective in that way. And yeah, I mean, he's all, and a lot of people, it's I don't know, like people like a slick boxer who also shows some balls. I mean, that's kind of like the ultimate. That's all you can ask from. That's the thing. Bivol did almost everything you could ask for a fighter in his position. I still don't know if I really think he won the fight, though.
Huevos. I thought he did. Brian Custer tweeting that I thought 116, 112 was way too wide. How about this tweet from Sergio Mora? Just the first two that came up when I looked. Sergio Mora saying more and more judges are being deceived by ineffective aggression. So he seems to be Team BC in that regard. But I'm going to watch this again, maybe 3 more times, maybe 5 more times. Put peanut butter across the screen once, watch it in black and white once with the sound off, once with the screen off, but the sound on. And then we'll see ultimately how I had it and whether my mustache will grow back. I really was I was trying to like almost a Gervonta thing where you connect the sideburns to the stash that comes underneath. I don't, it was a really, all these decisions are always made poorly. And in the moment when you're walking by the mirror, you're like, wait, let me try something right here.
And a little on this side.
Yeah.
Next thing you're looking like, if you belong in 1944 Germany or something.
Okay, how dare you? Where are you going with this? Okay,
I'm trying to bring it to the MMA. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I do know what you're talking. I know what you were doing there behind the hot dog stand. I'm looking at the quotes from he said at the end, Beterbiev. He said, when they asked if he thought he had done enough to win, he said, I don't know, but Allah.
He said he thought he won.
He said Allah picked him, so that's it. Allah had it for Beterbiev. That's where he's going with that. All right.
Yeah, he's thanking God. You know what?
Well, I sound like Jim Lampley at the end of the Hamed versus Barrera fight, and then George Foreman was like, no, Jim, no, don't say that. Remember that? You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I can't remember it, man. You got to fill me in. I remember seeing like the Prince getting whapped around the ring. That was pretty much my memory.
Jim live on the pay-per-view had really one of his only like fully regrettable calls when he made a comment about Hamed saying that Allah had already given him the win. And then he made a sort of a reference to the idea that Barrera had changed that spiritually and inside the ring, and kind of made it look like he was knocking down Hamed's faith. And George Foreman, to his credit, jumped right in. They pulled it out of all replays, so you can't hear it anymore. But it was a moment that the old school heads ultimately realized.
In the power rankings of moments that Jim Lampley wishes he had back, I'm not talking about just on camera.
Yeah.
Do you think that's at the top, or do you think there's anything else that he might like to have back?
Are you talking about that one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, you got a little hands.
I didn't know we were going to have these talks live on the air. Okay,
I'm sorry. Wow. You bringing it into my house. I had to ask.
I mean, this is the best win of Beterbiev's career. I just don't think he won it. I just don't think he won it. So that's the problem. Ineffective aggression. Me and Sergio Mora. But you would understand Sergio Mora's stance on there, especially a skilled boxer like him who once went to war with Jim Lampley over his call of the Mora versus Mosley fight. You remember that?
That's one of the many reasons why I have a lot of love for Sergio Mora, because he was willing to call out the most powerful broadcaster in boxing for a long time, and say, fuck you were wrong about that fight, and it hurt his career. I side with the fighter.
There you go. We both picked the Russian to win, and only one of us was right in the end. All right, there it is.
Russia was to your liking.
Yeah, ultimately, it really was. We're going to be back this week, right, on Inside the Box. We're going to put a few hands and limbs and scoop in there and see what comes out. Right.
I'm getting warmed up, man. We've only just begun.
Yeah. In the
that's my glove. The glove of clitoris.
Yes. There we go. Oh, man. So maybe I do mean what I said. I don't feel great about this. Be my counselor. Talk me off it here. All right.
You don't have to feel great about it. It's not it was a close fight, and the person who you thought edged it lost on the cards officially. I don't mean like,
I'm not even a Bivol fan. I wanted Beterbiev to win.
I know,
but not like this. Not like this.
Well, that's another good, argument for a rematch. It's, I thought they both fought really well. Again, this is one of those fights where I like have to remind myself to breathe while watching it, and my
Yes.
chest is feeling tight because I'm like, oh my god, what is about to? Oh, I like a little bit of, oh my god, look at this stuff, feelings. That's a good fight, man. If you feel that no other sport can do that.
Sound like you were crowning right there, to be fair, right? Now, quickly, did you get Big G, your pops, Jeff Bart? Did he tends to come in on the box when it gets exciting, right? The rise of Triple G. He didn't care about these two Russians at all, right?
Oh, he cares. He'll watch. I mean, he finds replays after the fact. He doesn't. It's kind of too much hassle. It sounded like this one was a real pain in the ass to find online. So I'm sure he'll have seen it by tomorrow morning.
It is great for boxing, by the way, that this was free-ish.
Was it? No, free-ish.
It was free-ish on ESPN Plus. You had to be a subscriber, but that's great for boxing.
That's not free.
Ish. I said ish.
All right. Yeah, it's paywalled. It's the same. That's like calling every other ESPN Plus fight free.
Ish. Okay.
Yeah,
Ish.
that's why I don't watch
final question here. Fuzzy Dunlop's very busy in this chat. Luke, or not Luke, Rafe Thomas, did you think that the crowd was purposely kind of blacked down and it didn't look that filled in there?
I wasn't. I did not look at that once. I don't know.
All right. You're like,
I mean, it's possible, right? I mean, all they're trying to do is fill like the first 10 rows full of celebrities, and who knows if anyone actually wants to. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I respect the most about you is that you don't care about any of the other BS in the sport. You don't care about what's going on Twitter.
It's how you become a liberated boxing fan. It's a movement.
About what happens between those ropes.
I know you gotta keep your hands in that box for content purposes, but man, once you can get liberated like this, you don't have to follow it. You could just turn on the fight and watch it. It's a beautiful thing. Do you agree
with this comment on the screen or no? No.
Oh, what is she walking away with? I mean, I guess she gets to see her man, taking hanging L on Dmitry. That's probably, if she feels good about that. In boxing wife lore, is she working on like a Jin Mosley resume, Brian?
We'll get to Cal in a second. I don't know enough about her, but I was hoping Artur grabbed the mic and said, I beat Dmitry. I took his belt and his girl. Shout out to Cal Naughton here. I wanted to hit this question before we get out of here. We'll just touch on it quickly. Next, it's gotta be Bivol. Do you think anything else would get in the way of Beterbiev not fighting Bivol next? Canelo, Big Red ain't taking that assignment. He's not doing it. Big Red.
Canelo did say he said what before the Berlanga fight that he was not interested in fighting Beterbiev if AB, Artur Beterbiev, not Adrian Broner, AB, won this fight. Now, that is an interesting twist, though, that Cal Naughton brings up. Motherfucker. Fucking Ron Howard. What the fuck do I have to do? Tell me what I have to cut off. I'm getting rid of it. I'll cut my fucking head off. Anyway, Brian. So anyway, Brian, what if Canelo is in a classic heel move was just pulling a little okie doke there? What if, he wants a little bit of shine this coming week. He wants to show everyone that he's still Canelo, dares to be great, got the biggest balls in boxing, even though he's going to set everything up. He's going to, tip all the scales to his favor in every fight, but he's still going to wants to look like he's going to call out Artur Beterbiev. He's like, I saw a fighter I could beat there. And call him out, and then step into that dance and say, "Oh, it's mine now, baby!" Would you put that past Canelo? Don't you think that he might pull a little okie doke there? Said,
Beterbiev, I changed my mind, my friend, at 168. No, he's not going to do it because I do agree with the theory. Because even though the Bivol fight against Canelo was like 115, 113 across the board for Bivol, when we all had it like 9-3 or 10-2.
Not in the Bartholomew household.
I do agree with the idea that Bivol sort of punched the ambition out of Canelo. Canelo's no longer talking about the cruiserweight Ilunga Maccabeus in a situation. Or
he could have beaten him. That wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, or teaming up with Eric Raskin at the Maccabi games in doubles tennis. He wasn't talking about either of those, but no, Canelo is not doing that. But then you got to start asking yourself, what is Canelo going to do? Well, he's probably going to go to Japan and fight on an Inoue card, but hopefully it's against like a Christian Mabili. No, he's not coming to 175.
Ooh,
Kovalev ain't coming
can
through
I
that door anymore.
Can I? Well, I mean, you never know, mate. What if Canelo saw something? What if he had a little Sugar Ray Leonard moment there, like watching Mugabe and Hagler and thinking, you know what, this guy isn't the monster I thought he would be. He's seeing Bivol land those clean shots and thinking, like, I'm a sharp puncher. I can counter. I got fast hands. I will be able to beat him. I will be able to beat Beterbiev to the punch. And you know what, Beterbiev, he doesn't always take, shot. If there's anything, like we've seen him shook up. We've seen him down. He it's not like he has an impenetrable chin. What if Canelo is watching this, talking himself into it?
No,
Canelo, can I talk you into this? Because I wouldn't mind seeing some bugs on your windshield,
Dude, he would get owned by Beterbiev's power, dude, which it really speaks, because I predicted Bivol's going to fold by KO. It speaks to how tough Bivol is, dude. I don't think he took the most flush Beterbiev shots because Bivol's defense was on point the whole night, but that guy's a real man, and that guy stood up to Canelo, and I think Canelo realizes I couldn't get through that guy or figure him out. I think Canelo would rematch Bivol for all 4 titles at 175 for sure. You're not going near Artur. You're not messing around with the Black Sox pulled up all the way Keith Van Horn style. Shout out Beterbiev doing like pulling a Van Horn like tribute right there. You got to love that, dude, right?
I mean, maybe his conversion to the Church of Latter-day Saints is just around the corner.
All right, one final question, then we got to shut this shit down. Here we go. This one's for you. All right, it comes to us from Stephen C.
Oh man, but who's climbing on board?
I think he wants a mustache ride with you. Okay, that's what I think. All right. Who wants to ride? It won't cost you $1, right?
I don't know. I haven't thought about this. I'm kind of still shook up over that. I'm still on Q Street over that Ron Howard comment, man. I'm need to cleanse. I'm having
dude, the Wonginator sliding in here. Alan W, the king of the playground here. We're trying to shut this shit down. He said, what happened to my face? You're right. Not a robbery, controversial call. I made a shaving error, Alan W, and this is what I end up with. Do I look younger or
Alan, you should see the rest.
Do I look younger or older like this? That's really the question, right?
I think you look younger, but maybe not in the best way.
Alan, fantastic work from you as always. Yeah, not in the best way at all. My wife told me to grow it back or get out. Ultimately, you know what I mean? But that's how that worked. All right, that was the great mustachioed Rafa Bartholomew. I was the emotional, my guy didn't win BC casual, but that happens sometimes because we love this game so much. We'll be back this week inside the box. It's a majority decision. Artur Beterbiev, the first 4-belt undisputed champion in light heavyweight history. Let's do it a second time. Rafe, any closing comments?
I just want to thank His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh for another wonderful installment of Riyadh season.
All right, here you go. Cut that camera and somebody be head carpenter. There we go. Just kidding. Just kidding. We are out. I think. There we go. Yeah, I think so.